Before working on this remaining edge, let's first deal with the edge stitching on the sleeve. We need to finish the edges both top and bottom here. One method is to double fold and then sew a top stitch. Another simpler method is to single fold and sew a top stitch. Here, I folded twice and sewed a top stitch. If you want to double fold here, it's recommended to leave a wider seam allowance, especially for household machines, as a narrow allowance might be harder to sew. My industrial machine handles it fine, so I didn't leave extra. The other side of the sleeve edge is treated the same, including the other sleeve. After finishing both edges, it looks like this. Then we take out the sleeve piece. The bottom edge of the cuff also needs to be folded inward, just like the previous edge stitching. At this position, I fold once normally and sew a top stitch. The bottom edge of the other sleeve is finished the same way. Also, on our pattern, there is a line to be sewn here, which we need to mark on the fabric piece as well, at the same position. I have already marked it here. Next, we take out the edge stitching we just completed. The line on the sleeve must overlap with the edge stitching line. I marked these points. These two lines need to be aligned, and we sew along this overlapped line. Then we sew another line on the edge stitching. Sew another line here as well. The space between these two lines is for inserting the elastic band. We are using a 3 millimeters wide elastic. I'm using my usual tool to thread the elastic. If you don't have this tool, you can use a safety pin or something similar to help. After pulling the elastic through, we temporarily fix one end with a tack stitch. Next, we need to measure the wrist position using the arm. That would be too tight. If the hand can't pass through, it definitely won't work. Measure a suitable length, then securely fix the other end of the elastic, the longer end. After securing, trim off the excess elastic. Repeat this process for the other sleeve. Set the two finished sleeves aside. Next, take the front and back pieces of the outer fabric and sew the dart seam with right sides facing each other. The lining's front and back pieces are sewn the same way. Just repeat the steps. After sewing the front and back pieces of both lining and outer fabric, press the dart seams open on both sides. Here, we need to sew around the neckline. The focus wasn't perfect and the image is a bit blurry, but when sewing, just follow the stitching line around the collar. Be sure to check the seam allowance, making sure it is pressed open both up and down. After sewing the collar, we need to add more notches on the seam, particularly at the areas with larger curves, so that when we turn it over, it will lay flat. Once the notching is done, turn the fabric to the front side. After turning it over, iron around the neckline to make it flatter. Next, let's work on the sleeves. The sleeves need gathering, and there are two marking points visible on the pattern above. We sew from this position to the other position, then gather it. For the gathering, slightly loosen the stitch length on the gathering line. After gathering, pull the bobbin thread tight, and this is the result. After gathering, we manually check the sleeve's position to see if the size and length are suitable. If it fits perfectly, we put the sleeve on directly. If there's a slight difference, we adjust it again. After adjusting, we face the doctor directly and put the sleeve on. Use the same method to put on the sleeve on the other side. After putting on both sleeves, we now sew this sleeve and the side seam on the doctor's side. Make sure to align the armpit seam at this position. After measuring the underarm area, make several extra cuts. Be careful not to cut into the darts. Next, sew the other side of the sleeve and this side seam. The side seam under the lining's armhole also needs to be sewn together, making sure the right sides face each other. Turn it to the front to check. If everything is fine, we'll sew the back opening and the hem. Sew downward from this position, then sew back up to this position. When reaching the dart position, it's best to spread the dart towards both sides. At the 4 right angle corners, make a cut. Then we trim the lining at this position and turn the garment to the front side. After turning it over, tidy up the edges and press them firmly. After sewing the edges, we sew a top stitch along the side seam at the edge. This makes the garment smoother and neater. Here, I also removed the visible stitches along the neckline at the same time. After removing the visible stitches, we can sew up the area around the embroidery section. The sewing method for the embroidery section is in the folder. Everyone can check it out. Finally, sew on the snap buttons at the back and the garment will be. Let's start by working on the collar part. Here, we first draw this pattern on a piece of fabric. I have made 2 marking points here. This means that this side is a folded edge position. Here we use 2 pieces of fabric with their right sides facing each other. Then sew from this point of the facing all the way to this point. Here we have something to pay attention to. That is, if we are using relatively thin fabric, then it is recommended to press the seam. For my fabric, I still feel it's a bit on the thin side. So this one has an iron-on interfacing. But this piece of interfacing is ironed onto one piece of fabric. It's not ironed onto both pieces of fabric. Because if both pieces of fabric had interfacing, then it would be a bit too thick. Anyway, everyone should assess the actual situation. If your fabric thickness is sufficient, there's no need to press the seams. Next, let's do some stitching. Place the right sides facing each other. After sewing, we use pinking shears. Cut off this collar. Be careful not to cut into the seam. If you don't have pinking shears, make a few extra cuts at the areas with sharper curves. Pay attention to the position of this reverse seam. It's best to leave a bit more seam allowance. Don't cut too little. There are 4 places here where you need to clip the corners. Clip each one diagonally like this. Be careful not to cut into the trap. Trim this area at the reverse seam. Then, from this reverse seam position, flip this collar to the front side. After flipping it over, use tweezers to assist a bit. Arrange the positions of all the edges and corners, then iron it all over. Before ironing, pay attention to something. Specifically, this collar position. You need to tuck it in properly first. Tuck it neatly before ironing. After ironing this side, we need to take out this ribbon, use needle and thread, then thread it through this corner. This needs attention here. It's because I still need to pull the visible thread shortly. So I didn't tie a knot in this ribbon. If you don't pull the visible thread, then this end of the ribbon. Be sure to tie a knot. Do not tie a knot. Next, when pulling the visible thread, also, do not leave this ribbon too short. This is the side we leave inside. Don't leave it too short. It's okay to leave it a bit longer because ribbons tend to come undone easily. If you leave it very short, it's very likely you'll have to pull it multiple times. It stays in the position inside at the front. It all falls apart. It's very easy to pull it out. Next, take the ribbon on the other side and thread it through using the same method. After putting it on, we follow along the edge. Directly stitch a 1 mm top stitch on it. Then our collar is finished. Today, let's learn how to make this buttoned flap. This is the buttoned flap I have already made. Here is the button. When using it, you fasten it like this. This is all you need to do. I'm using embroidery thread here. It's the kind that's a single strand folded in half. For our thread, two strands. You can also use hand sewing thread if you want. If you use hand sewing thread, the finished buttonhole will be a bit finer. This one will be slightly thicker. This depends on your personal preference. Let's first demonstrate how to do it now. Let's first find a good point. For example, I'm working on this red dot now. I am indeed working on this red dot. Then we just offset it. Because this clutch plate is round, this means this is the center point. The middle part is the center point. Everyone should move it slightly to the right. Normally we gather this area. The lining needs to be folded inward. Then it is joined to the outer fabric seam with a long stitch, but I usually do this step after finishing the entire garment. Finally, sew it together using the long stitch method. Why is this step done last? Because whether you are making snap fastener discs or if you want to do it on the outer fabric of the clothes to add some decorations, if the red thread is used in hand, it certainly has knotted areas. It has this thread tail. If you do this step at the end, we can push the needle in from here. For example, when we make buttonholes, I now directly insert the needle through this opening, coming out from the spot I want, coming straight out from here. The thread end will be directly hidden inside the garment. This way, it looks more aesthetically pleasing. Then let's continue to discuss the method of disc latching. First, we find a point. What we just mentioned is starting from this point, the mark we made on this point. So the position where we take the button disc out should be just a little to the right of this point. Then we insert the needle from this side. For the needle insertion, because this hand-sewn fabric has two layers. One is the outer fabric and the other is the lining on the outer fabric. Then we turn it over. At this point, if we change the direction like this, it's also to the right of this point. It's roughly the average position. Starting the quilting from this side, also on the surface fabric. Let's pay attention to the quilting now. For quilting, the stitches are made flat. Then we need to take this needle out from the original needle exit point through the same opening. You can take a look. If it is a bit tight here, you can lend a small tool. Use the clip to clamp it out. Don't try to straighten this area all at once. You can't pull it all the way in. We need to leave a bit of thread. The space we leave now corresponds to the size of your button. Because there are many types of buttons. Let's take a look now. I have prepared 3 kinds of buttons that can be used on this button disc. This type is a standard button. There is a buttonhole at the back, and these 2 are just ordinary small pearls. It's just that one is a bit bigger and the other a bit smaller. The size of our loop depends on the size of this button. Because when we fasten it, we do it like this, hooking it on and fastening it in. If it's too small, if the loop is too small and the button is too big, or it definitely won't fasten. If the small loop is obviously much smaller than the button, then we need to continue tightening it. So it depends on what size button you want to use. For this time, I plan to use this medium-sized one. The coil size should allow the button to pass through. It shouldn't be too big or too small. All right, let's continue making the button loop now. This needle goes directly down through this hole. After inserting it, move your hand downward. Come out from this spot. Take the needle, pull it over, pull it tight with your right hand. For the rest, we just repeat the previous steps. Pass the needle down through this eyelet. The thread is like this. We pull the needle out from underneath with our hand. Tighten, tighten. Thread it through, pull it out. There are many methods to make a buckle plate. This is just one of the demonstrations I'm showing. I also learned this method from, probably also learned it on Xiaohongshu, but it was a long time ago. I've forgotten exactly whose post I saw it on. We keep repeating this step. Wrap it around once like this to finish it. Then when we finish over here, the needle goes back through the original hole, passing the needle back through. You can pull the needle out from the sleeve side like I do, then just tie a knot here to finish it off. This way, we have finished one buttonhole. Here, I'll explain the marking point of the strap on the waistband. How should we mark it? What I have in my hand now is a piece of paper, but for us here now, let's just treat it as a pre-cut piece of fabric for now. Then the edges around here are the seams. When we draw the marker points here, we do not include the seams inside. We only rely on this part inside the seam to draw out this marker point. Isn't there a relatively long piece of text on our blueprint? It's written like this in our second point. For example, what I wrote is the strap marking point on the waistband. They are 1.5 centimeters on the left, 1.4 centimeters on both sides of the center line. Here I'm making an analogy, because the data I write for each dimension may vary. What I mainly want to explain to you is how this point is marked. Let's first draw 1.5 centimeters to the left and right of the Directly measure this waistband with a ruler. Make a mark 1.5 centimeters from the left side. Make a mark 1.5 centimeters from the right side. Note that this mark is not considered a seam allowance within the seam allowance. Next, we fold this material piece. Find the center point of it. You can mark the center point first. Then we use this center point as the reference. Make a mark 1.4 centimeters to the left of it, 1.4 centimeters to the right. Create a note. If you have this kind of tool like I do, which is the tool for making these edge strips, we just cut this front part into a slightly pointed shape and insert it from this side. You can hold it with steam. Directly pull this fabric out. Manually tidy up this part at the front first. Shape it with an iron. Then we pull outward from the back like this. While pulling this iron, move along and press it. Keep pressing until the entire strip is ironed. This will be a bit simpler. If you have this kind of small tool, it's not expensive. If not, you can also buy a quilt. After ironing the entire strip like this, it looks like this. Then we need to fold it in half once more, aligning the two edges. Continue using the iron. Curl like this. Set the curl. I won't finish curling it now. Let me explain to you. If you don't have this tool, we don't have to start like this, right? then we can only do it manually ourselves. For example, let's first fold it along the center here. Fold it in half. You can also use an iron to fold it like this first. Make a crease here, or if you don't have an iron, we can use our fingernails to score it like this. And the crease in the middle will appear as well. Then we align both sides here along the center line. Next, continue scraping this side a bit. Then scrape this side the same way. It's the same effect. The final effect is also like this. It depends on whether you have the tools. If you don't have the tools, just do it manually. With the strap fitted, we now sew a line to secure this side, sewing on the open side. After finishing, we trim the strap to the size shown in the pattern, plus an additional seam allowance. The strap size given in the pattern is the exposed part without seam allowance, so you need to add an extra seam allowance length yourself. Next, we take out one of the decorative strips for the waistband. There are 4 marking points on the pattern, and we need to mark these points on the decorative strip. The point in the very center is drawn by me. Ignore it and focus only on the other 4 marker points. Take out the strap you made earlier and align it with the edge of the second marker point. Sew a few temporary stitches inside the seam to hold it in place. Then take out another strap and place it just below the 3rd marker point. Then sew a few temporary stitches inside the seam to secure it temporarily. Then pull one of the straps over to the side. The position is at the edge of the first marking point, and sew a few stitches inside the seam to prevent you from placing the strap in the wrong position. I will mark it again here. It is right in the middle between these 2 marking points. Pay attention here. The middle part of this strap does not have any bends. It is pulled over smoothly like this. Continue with the other strap, also placing it next to this marked point. Then pull and secure it in several places. After both straps are fixed, we take out another colored patch for the waistband and align it. Here the fronts are facing each other, then we sew this part. Although we have already fixed the front strap, but it's best to glance at it briefly during sewing. Sometimes the inside gets tugged, making the strap slightly crooked. After folding, we flip the fabric to the front side. At this spot, you can scrape it lightly with your fingernail to smooth it out. You can also try probing with a stiff vite. After finishing, set it aside. Then we take out this part of the skirt hem. Here, we fold the bottom edge of the skirt inward and sew it back onto the silver thread to secure it. After finishing the bottom edge, we make pleats on this part of the waist. For the gathers here, I pulled 2 lines. Just use this middle crease line as the reference, at roughly 2 millimeters on both sides of it. Draw a crease line on each side. First, widen the dart crease slightly. Then, do not backstitch at both the beginning and the end. After removing it, let's pull the hemline together. Pull both ends at the same time. If after pulling one end it feels a bit tight, you can also pull the hemline on the other end a bit. The length of the folded hem after gathering matches the length of the waistband. Sew the waistband and the skirt hem together with the right sides facing each other. After gathering, we turn it to the front to check. Check if this fold has any issues. If there are no issues, we will remove this outer gathering stitch. The back part has some issues because of that phone. There is a section without a seam, so here I changed the fabric. The method is the same, only this fabric is different. Here we remove this dart seam. Then fold down this part of the waistband. To prevent confusion, I'll fold this part down once more. Just fold it down at this position. Sew downwards, starting from this part of the waistband side seam, or we can first open this area to take a look underneath. It's actually the spot where the waistband connects to the skirt hem. If you're worried about inaccurate stitching, you can also stitch this side after flipping it over. Sew straight down from this upper position all the way to the bottom. Earlier, we folded this dart together with the skirt hem. Take a look at how it looks after sewing. Then we sew the same position on the other side using the same method. After sewing, we cut diagonally at this right angle corner. Be careful not to cut into the dart. Next, flip this part directly over to the front. You can use tweezers to help when flipping. In this way, the flipped corner will look nicer. After flipping, it looks like this. Then we flip it back to the back side. You need to fold this seam inward a bit. Just fold it inward along the seam line. Then at this spot, we need to sew it using the long stitch method. The usage of the long stitch method is explained in the documentation. Everyone can check it out themselves. When sewing, the main focus is stitching the inner folded and the position of the seam line on the lower fold. After sewing, we turn it to the front side. Here, we need to stitch a visible line at this position. After stitching the line, we sew a hidden button on each side to fasten it. This way, our skirt is finished. Next, we will make socks. The reason I didn't mention from the beginning where to start sewing is, it's because if the sewing position is on knit fabric, you fold it down like this. When it's very short here, it's difficult to sew with a home machine. Let's leave a little more for it first. After the car is done, we'll go pick it up. To make the stitching on our socks more secure, let's fold it down first. You can take a look, mark these points. It's this point. On the other side, this side is the front. Mark the points on the edge of the sock. Take a look, this is the front. Then we draw the line on the reverse side. After marking, fold it along this line. The place where we put the needle is at the point we marked. First, we backstitch 1 or 2 stitches to secure it. Then continue sewing forward. When the car reaches this point, then move the car forward by 1 or 2 notches and also reverse 1 notch. All right, we have now reached the new point. Then backtrack 2 notches, stop. Continue walking forward. Walk to this point. Then stop again. Stop, stop. Keep walking forward. Keep walking forward. Walk to this point. Then stop again. Also go back 1 or 2 steps. Continue walking forward. Continue walking forward. Walk to this point, then continue the previous operation to rewind the needle. Then continue the previous operation to rewind the needle. Let's take a look now. Why do I need to rewind the needle at this point? When we cut later, we will cut along this edge like this to create a little seam for cutting. There are times when we have to reinsert the needle. We often wear and remove it like this. It will be more secure. This thread won't come loose. Now that the thread has been pulled, let's cut a little, just like this, flat. Cut off the excess seams. Don't cut this line. 3 to 4 millimeters outside this line is fine. If you cut it this short from the beginning, Then when you go to cut it again, the edges won't be as easy to cut. Okay, now it's after we finished cutting, fold it like this. These are all the wrong sides. The marked areas are all the wrong sides. Besides the right side, we made a few marks. The socks are folded in half. This line runs along the edge. Unpick the seam. After sewing, move outward along the edge, about 3 or 4 millimeters. Cut off the sock, the area with a larger curvature. You need to cut an additional opening. Be careful not to cut into the seams. Also, don't cut too deep. After you finish cutting, flip the entire sock inside out. The socks are ready. Let's take a look now. This is the sock that has been heat pressed with designs. I applied the heat transfer on this side. The side is this way. Iron it directly here. Then this is ironed on the front side. Just do it like this. The side seam is at the back, and then it's ironed flat like this. Then regarding my socks, it is the ankle area. It is naturally narrower. If you like it a bit wider, you can refer to the one from 2 episodes ago, that Christmas drawings design.